So should the government impose stricter measures now? We go above and beyond the headlines with Dr. Ong-Lim of the Health Department's Technical Advisory Group. Dr. Lim, good evening and welcome to Newsnight. So what should we do if you were if you were the one who could make the decisions as a doctor? Would you suggest that, yeah, let's do that lockdown now in the next 2 weeks and not wait for much later because we can't vaccinate the entire population anyway?
Well, Pia, as an infectious disease specialist, of course, part of the recommendations we usually give for any outbreak is to decrease mobility. But I guess the critical thing we have to determine is at what point will that particular intervention have the most impact. And we're actually fortunate that we're able to use the data to help us make these decisions so that we get the benefit, no, of this very difficult intervention. Kasi hindi naman madali yung mag-lockdown because we know the implications that it brings about. We want to make the decision to get the possible outcome. So the reason why I'm saying is, what if we decide too early and then maybe 1 or 2 weeks from now, the numbers are still increasing, do we extend? So we want to determine what point is the best.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so right now what you're saying, Dr. Ong-Lim, is that you're not fully convinced that we should do a hard lockdown right now or even next week, no? Because ang pinag-uusapan first week of August daw. But we need more data to make a really good decision because, like you said, it has to have a real impact.
That's right, no? It's certainly the numbers are quite alarming. I mean, sino ba naman ang hindi kakabahan with the increasing number of cases? I think what we have running in our favor now is we're more prepared in the sense that we still have good capacity. We've anticipated what can happen. We have the advantage of having a better vaccinated population. We don't want, of course, to be behind in this decision. So I guess what I would like to see is if we post ECQ now, what kind of impact will that have as opposed to implementing it a little bit later, like maybe next week, because it is possible to come up with the numbers for that.
Yeah. Dr. Lim, every time I interview you, we always reiterate minimum health standards or minimum public health measures. And I'm sure that is still the same message you are going to give us tonight, right? Kahit na tunog sirang plaka na tayo, right, ma'am?
Yes, and I keep saying we're really quite fortunate that these measures continue to work. So siguro the only difference, Pia, is that I would say in this particular instance, we need to emphasize 2 V's, vaccination and ventilation. So in the past, we put a lot of emphasis on making sure that you use your PPEs properly, like your face mask, your face shield. But now we know that aerosol transmission is a factor. So ventilation is critical. And of course, vaccination is going to make a very big difference.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And ma'am, the reason why you are, like we said, saying this over and over like a broken record is because it is even more crucial now because we are dealing with this Delta variant, which leads to faster transmission. Can you give us the scientific explanation, pero layman's language pa rin, no? What makes it so, what are the characteristics that leads to faster transmission and why we should do everything in our power to defeat this?
Well, this virus has 2 mutations in its genetic material that allow it to, they call it the fastest and the fittest and most formidable iteration of COVID so far, no? And it's actually parang intuitive eh. Siyempre yung mas madaling magpadami, yung mas madaling makahawa, yun talaga ang mas kakalat. So with that particular information, then kung ano yung pag-iingat natin dati with respect to making sure that we have protection, siguro doble or triple pa dapat ngayon. Dapat tama ang pagsusuot natin ng mask, tama ang paggamit ng shield. We make sure that the time of interaction is as minimal as possible because there's data that shows that it actually transmits much faster. And we want to make sure nga that ventilation is something we keep in mind so that we decrease our chances of catching the virus.
Okay. So like you were saying, ma'am, Dr. Anna Ong-Lim earlier, two Vs, vaccination, ventilation, and let me add another V, vigilance pa rin.
Oh, yes.
Dr. Anna Ong-Lim, thank you very much, ma'am, for
Thank you.
yes, for being with us tonight, for joining us on the show.